What's going on, guys? My name is Eldeniro and welcome to a TV show review. It's been a very long time since I've done any video of any kind on my channel, let alone review type stuff, and I still get messages and tweets and DMs from people saying like, when is the next episode of 13 Reasons Why and things like that. So obviously some people care about this stuff, and I don't know, but I felt the need to talk about this show. It's called Black Summer. It's a Netflix original. It was released, I think, 3 days ago on the 11th of April. I didn't even know that this was coming out. I wasn't aware of it at all, which is strange because I'm drawn to zombie fiction like a zombie is drawn to human meat. So it's pretty weird for me that I didn't know that it was coming out. But I went onto Netflix. It was on the homepage, and it said, Black Summer, recommended for you. And I clicked it, and a few hours later, I had binge watched the entire thing. So I think that'll tell you something about what I think about this show and whether or not you should watch it. But it starts off at this real like kinetic pace. Everything is happening really quickly, and it pretty much continues in that vein the entire way forward. The pacing is really, really good in this show. It's 8 episodes short, all of which are like different amounts of time. Different. One of them is 30 minutes, one of them is 20 minutes, that kind of deal. But it's really good. The camera work in it is actually... it's up there with the best that I've ever seen in the zombie genre. It does everything in this real like sort of handheld perspective, and it just gives you a real sense of the anxiety and everything that these characters are going through as it's happening on the screen. The way that it captures the anxiety just gives you a good sense of perspective when viewing it through the lens of the characters' arcs that they're actually going through. Like The Walking Dead, it follows several characters who mix and match their stories in really satisfying ways. Some of the characters have names that are given on screen as they're each dedicated like a chapter of an episode, but I'll tell you right now, having a name in this show does not make you safe from being killed. This show is really ruthless, and while your expectations are normally grounded in your knowledge of a person's backstory or what they're trying to achieve, this show does not care who you are. Anybody is potential zombie meat, or even just, you know, human target practice. I don't want to compare this show too much to The Walking Dead, but I think given that The Walking Dead very much sets the benchmark for mainstream zombie TV shows and is the most wildly successful TV show in the genre, it's kind of the #1 basis for a comparison here. What this show does in 8 episodes, The Walking Dead would take about 20 painstakingly boring seasons to complete. On top of that, there are a whole range of like different genre fusions sprinkled throughout Black Summer, and it portrays several different aspects of character development. It touches on lots of socio-political issues as well in a real like non-preachy and obvious way, and it leaves plenty of room open to interpretation. The main criticism of the show that I have is that they open lots of loops that never really get closed, and some of them are really, really silly, and you kind of hope that they're not going there. While they might be irrelevant to the actual central story, it seems like some things are just served up to introduce more drama or raise tensions, and what ends up happening as a result of that is they create more questions than answers when you think about them for long enough. There are plenty of zombie apocalypse cliches and touchstones in this show, but I think it's pretty hard to tell a story across 8 episodes without touching on obvious things like abandoned supermarkets and weapons caches and the struggle between good folks trying to rekindle the old civilized society and bad guys trying to adapt to and thrive in the new world. The main thing this show takes from The Walking Dead is the concept that everybody is infected, meaning that once you die, you turn into a zombie, even if you die in like a car crash or something. This show seems to do it in a much more consistent way, though, with people dying and then pretty much immediately rising from the dead. The zombies are also really fast and relentless and capable of eating through tons of magazine clips before they drop. It seems like the old bullet in the head trick still works, but they're definitely harder to kill in this, I've noticed. There's no real surefire way to put a zombie down except for the old headshot, but it seems like a headshot is really hard to get when they're running at you at a real frantic pace, and I think the show does a really good job of showing you that because it does it at such an up-close level. Some of the camera work in it is shaky, but not enough to make you seasick, and the rest of it just, instead of giving like a cut transition from one character's face to another, the camera will just move from one character to the next, and it just makes you feel like you're actually there. It makes you feel like you're in a zombie apocalypse. It's really good. Like, I'm really surprised that no one has ever really done something like that. I guess 28 Days Later had certain elements of that, but this show does it on such a like more broad level. It's really cool. This show was produced by a company called The Asylum, who are famous for making low-budget knockoffs of Hollywood blockbusters and piggybacking on their fame with silly titles like Transmorphers, The Day the Earth Stopped and Snakes on a Train. I think their old market strategy was to make video titles like that and then sell them to Blockbuster or whatever the video rental stores were called, and then people would just rent them by accident or something, and that's how they would get their money. But that being said, they've adjusted to the digital age like fairly well. They've recently received a fair amount of positive reviews on their sci-fi show Z Nation, which Black Summer serves as sort of a prequel to, even though it's not an exact like-for-like genre match. I think they just seem to take place in the same universe or borrow many characteristics from Z Nation, but this is definitely a different style of TV show for sure. I'm quite excited about it though. Like, it's not perfect, and it has lots of B-movie tropes in it, like the infinite ammo glitch or dialogue that can really only exist in this kind of world. But it's well acted, it's very well shot, and it's played out at such a frantic energy that it just works, and it happens to seem like a very refreshing take on what is like probably one of the most saturated corners of fiction at the moment. So, like, I'm pretty happy with it. I really recommend checking it out. It's only a few hours to get through the whole series, and it definitely doesn't feel like a waste of time after you watch it. Besides that, it's got approximately 0 hours of Rick Grimes planting crops and crying. So for that alone, it deserves a solid 7 out of 10 for me. I've been El Dinero. Thanks for listening.